It's mailbag time here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Ron Burgundy in the chat asking, what's the minimum level of success for Caleb Williams to have for it to be considered a success? So I think you're asking, like, okay, what's like the lowest threshold he does where you'd be like, okay, that was a successful draft pick? Well, a lot of this is relative, right? Because to be the best Bears quarterback in franchise history, you probably don't have to do that much. But I'll just put it like this. Be a solid starter in the league. And again, this is the baseline. Top 12 quarterback. If you're a top 12 quarterback, yeah, you want more when you're drafting number one, but if you got at least that would be considered a success. Because when's the last time the Bears had a top 12 quarterback? Maybe Cutler for a couple of years. And then earn a second contract with the Bears and be a consistent playoff team. So top 12 guy, solid starter. Second contract, which means the franchise agrees that he's at least a solid starter. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is kind of in this boat right now. Like, he's been probably a little disappointing as a number one pick, but he's still a solid starter, so Jacksonville pays and kept him. He's won a playoff game. And if you're a consistent playoff team, 2 out of 3 years you're going to the playoffs, 4 out of 6 years. Like, most years you're a playoff team. If he does that for 10 years, we might look back wishing we got more, but that would still be a lot better than what you've had in a long time. So if he does those things, I think you'd at least have some level of happiness with it. But again, I think he's got top 5 potential. I think he's got Super Bowl potential, maybe even MVP potential. So, if that's like the high end and this is the low end, if he's somewhere in the middle, if he's the 7th best quarterback in the NFL and gives you a chance to win a Super Bowl at some point, I think that's a realistic but still difficult expectation to reach. All right, how high are your expectations for Caleb Williams? Scale it on a numerical scale, and if you want to add context of, kind of details like I just put out there, you can do so. 0 to 100, 100 being unbelievably like he's chasing Tom Brady, 0 being this guy's going to be out of the league in 2 years. How high are your expectations for Caleb Williams? From Petey, how much will we see Caleb Williams play in the preseason games? I think he's going to play a decent amount. Now, I don't know what their approach to the Hall of Fame game will be, considering they're going to play the Texans in week 2. I would still play him, even if it just for the sake of running a few plays. I wouldn't do anything crazy. Maybe a couple handoffs, maybe a bootleg, throwing out into the flat, call it a day. I don't think you're playing him a half or anything on August 1st, but I'd like to see him play a drive. The next 3 games, though, I'd play him a lot. I'd play him at least a quarter in all 3 games, and at least a half in 1, if not 2 of the games. So I hope he plays a lot. He needs to play a lot. He's got to get these reps. Jason M., what kind of season does Rome need to have where you are comfortable letting Keenan Allen walk and going into next season with DJ and Rome? I can't say statistically what that would look like. It's just kind of like it when you see it, right, Jason? I think we'll know by November, Rome's ready to be a clear-cut top 2 wide receiver on this team next year. If you're unsure, that's when the Keenan kind of side of things gets interesting. Do you pay him? Do you not? Do you let him walk? What do you do? So, I think it's a know it when you see it thing. I'd be surprised if we were 10 weeks in and we were like, man, this has been pretty quiet for Rome. But if it is, then obviously you got to reevaluate, and if you haven't extended Keenan Allen by then, you have to consider doing so. Subscribe to Chicago Bears Now. Just takes 1 click. It's 100% free, and hey, if you don't like what we do, you can always unsubscribe in the future. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, join the family here as we're chasing 100,000 subscribers. Edward, do you honestly think Flus is on the hot seat? No, I've said I actually don't think he enters the season on the hot seat. Maybe it's slightly mild, but I'm on record saying unless this is a disastrous year, I think he's back in 25. Now, what qualifies as a disaster for him? 1, the offense is really good, but the defense collapses. Goes from expected to be top 10, top 15 at worst, is like a bottom 10 defense. That's kind of his bread and butter. So that would qualify. Or if you even if you look like a better team, but you can't win games, you still can't figure out how to put teams away. That was a problem last year. You go 6-11 and you go 1-6 in 1-score games or something like that. So barring something just where it's this guy can't get over the hump, I think he's back in 25. But there are scenarios where he certainly could get fired. Speaking of which, do you believe in Matt Eberflus? right on cue. Type B for believe, D for don't. I believe that he can be solid. I'm not ready to say I believe he can be a top 5 head coach in this league. Maybe you don't need him to be that. You would prefer that. All the good teams that are winning Super Bowls have elite coaches, but let's wait and see. There's things I like. There's things I still have questions about. Fear the Squids saw a potential trade of Herbert and a 2025 third-round pick to the Steelers for Highsmith. Would be an upgrade over Walker, and Highsmith is signed at a pretty friendly deal for the next 3 to 4 years. Thoughts? I mean, I would do that trade. Alex Highsmith is a great player. You put him opposite of Montez Sweat. That's a good rusher. I'm not sure where you saw that trade, but if I see it, I'll discuss it further on the show. Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat because I think Alex Highsmith would fetch at least a second, potentially even a first if you didn't attach a player. So if Herbert lowered it from a 2 to a 3, I mean, I'm willing to do that. Denny Edquist Jr., who do you think signs first, Caleb or Rome? I don't know. Not sure it really matters. I hope it gets handled before training camp. You don't want these things to linger, but how about you sign them on the same day? That'd be nice. Both first-round picks together, signed together. So I expect that to get done before training camp. Still have a few weeks, so no concerns over here. Fill in the blank for us. The Bears will win blank games this year. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. How many? 17-game season. 0 to 17. How many are they going to win? The Notcast, Josh Jacobs used to be a quarterback. Why couldn't the Bears just move Justin Fields to running back? Would it be disrespectful, and if so, why? Well, I'll tell you a couple things. One, if the Bears brought him in after 3 seasons in the NFL as a first-round pick as a quarterback with at least some level of success, right? I get it. Passing hasn't been great, but he's had some success. If they brought him in and were like, hey, we're going to draft Caleb Williams, and we're going to move you to running back, he would call his agent immediately and tell him that, and his agent would call the Bears and say, you're going to trade my client. Justin Fields is not conceding his chances of playing quarterback 3 years into the league. 3 years from now, if he hasn't improved and the NFL doesn't view him as a starting quarterback or even a good backup, yeah, by then that could happen. But we are still far from that. Like, Justin Fields is not bailing on being an NFL quarterback 3 years into his career when he has started 38 games. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, it sounds fun, and I think he'd be good at it, but there's locker room dynamics there. Like, it would never have happened. Never. Luis Ramirez, if the Bears beat the Texans comfortably in Week 2, do the Bears come serious contenders? I'll tell you what, if the Bears handle their business against Tennessee in Week 1, go into Houston on Sunday Night Football, beat the Texans, especially if Caleb Williams outplays C.J. Stroud, that will be the lead storyline on all the national shows Monday morning. Get up, first take, first things first, you name it. It's on TV, YouTube channels. Like, that's the story. Here comes Caleb and the Bears. They're for real. Super Bowl dark horses. I guarantee you all that stuff will be mentioned nationally if that happens. Got to go take care of business, and I don't think it's crazy to think that could happen. They absolutely should beat Tennessee Week 1. And I know the Texans had a great year last year, but like it's not like they should be viewed as some invincible team already. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all if the Bears went in there and beat the Texans on Sunday night. So, yeah, if it happens, it's the hype is going to get real, and it's going to get real fast. Appreciate all the questions here on Chicago Bears Now. Subscribe and join us for our live mailbags every Monday and Thursday at 4 o'clock Central Time. That's when we answer all of your questions. And until then, bear down.